In this video, I'm going to tell you the three biggest tips that you need to know to not drink at a social setting coming up to the silly season and Christmas. Boom. Welcome to another episode of Real Drug Talk. My name's Jack Nagle, and on this show, we talk about all things alcohol, drugs, addiction, and addiction recovery. Today, we're going to be talking about social events and how to get through them. This has come from a question that we've had from people in our Wholeness Shift program. I just want to talk about the Wholeness Shift quickly. Just like I hate promoting, but I've just got to do it because the special offer is running out this week. It ends on Friday, Melbourne, Sydney time. It goes away and it goes back up to $1,100, and it's currently at $330, which is a steal because what you get in the program is access to our content hub forever, which has over 50 educational workshops and videos and presentations on all things that you need to do to break through in recovery. And it's not just a bunch of videos, it's laid out in a step-by-step process that takes you through a journey exactly on how to take the right steps at the right time to break addiction. So that's the Wholeness Shift. I'll leave a link to it in this episode. I recommend that you jump on it before the special offer goes away. But we had a question from one of the guys that's just joined in the program and the mentorship, and he's asked in the private Facebook group that I'm in all the time, giving advice and access to and all that sort of stuff. He's asked, um, "What do I do with social events coming up to Christmas?" Coming up to the silly season, how do I get through social events? So I wanted to talk about that and give my top three tips on how to go and beat social events sober, because it's a hard thing, right? It's a very hard thing. People are drinking. People are often just say to you, "You can just have one." Stuff like that. What do you say to that? So here's the first number one tip that I'm going to give you, and this is the boring one. Don't go. If you possibly can, there's a lot of events that you can skip out on. I understand that Christmas with family, some work events you absolutely have to go to. And sorry, just got a message there. And there's some things that you absolutely have to go to, but there's a lot of events that you can skip out on. There's heaps of events because we know that people in this silly season, particularly, are drinking alcohol and doing blow. Like it's just what happens in the silly season. There's a lot of events that you can say no to and not go. All right. So that's the first and number one tip that I give you. It's the boring one, but it's the easiest one. Don't go. What I'd say to you is get a schedule, write down all the events that you have to go to, talk to the trusted people around you. So your partner, any friends, your kind of board of directors, the people that help you in your life. And map out which ones you can actually say no to and not go to. Even though you might feel the pressure that you have to go to them, you can not go to a lot. And if you join the Wholeness Shift, it will help you to identify those if you like, and we'll go through them and actually give you tips and the community will give you support on not going to those social events. So that's tip number one. Tip number two. Tip number two is take some non-alcoholic beers. Now, that's controversial, or non-alcoholic wine or drinks or whatever, but just take some non-alcoholic stuff. Um, I'm going to get a lot of shit from the sober community. I don't give a fuck. You can piss off. It helps people. It just helps people to go with a non-alcoholic drink and just to have something in your hand, and that makes you feel like you're kind of still part of the social setting is really, really helpful. And we find people find that extremely beneficial, just to kind of get them through the event sober. And you can drink as many as you like and you'll be okay. And it just helps socially to have them with you, to combat, that question about why you're drinking water or whatever. Now, that brings me to the question, which is included in this tip number two, is when people start asking you, why are you not drinking, right? It's really cool. These days, not drinking is a lot more socially acceptable than it used to be. It's still, people still ask you and all that kind of stuff, but it's a lot more socially acceptable. I remember 10 years ago when I got sober, if you didn't drink and there was no non-alcoholic drinks, people would be like, why are you not drinking? They just automatically assume that you're an alcoholic and that you had a problem, right? And kind of think that you're weird and not talk to you and all that kind of stuff. So, it's awesome these days that it's a bit more socially acceptable. But what I tell people is to come up with a story. It's okay to lie, right? Sometimes it's okay to lie and or fabricate the truth a little bit to get you through some of the questions that people may ask you because there will be some people that will ask you why you're not drinking. Some of the things that you can come up with is that you're on a health journey, and you're trying to get back into shape, or you're just trying to improve your general health, and you don't want to drink. That's the best one, because people just go, "Oh yeah," and accept that. Um, the other one is. Uh, uh, you know, uh, I'm doing a sober month to see what it's like to not drink alcohol, and I wanted to do it at this time and give myself a real challenge. There's lots of stories that you can come up with that just that you can just roll off the top of your head because you've practiced the story. I go with the health one because people accept that the most, and it's the easiest one to go with. But there's plenty of other stories that you can come up with. Now, what do you do when people just say, surely you can just have one? Surely you can just have one. Well, just turn the question back on them. Just say, no, I don't have one. What are you doing in your life? And just quickly ask them something about themselves to change the topic in the conversation because people love to talk about themselves and you will be able to get them talking about themselves even if they're just asking you just to have one. You don't have to be confrontational about it. You just say, no, I don't want one. What are you doing in your life? What's happening? How's your career going? What's happening with your family? Just turn it back on them. People love to talk about themselves and they will give you answers and, you will be able to change and shift the conversation. It's really important. So, that's, tip number two. So bring some non-alcoholic beers and come up with some stories to you know, tell people so that it just rolls off the cuff. Okay, so tip number three, the biggest tip is to come up with a plan. All right. If you don't have a plan, you will just default into old habits and behaviors. But if you have a plan about what you're going to do at the social event, so I always recommend leaving early. People get about 3 to 4 drinks in and they start getting annoying. I don't know about you, but if you've ever talked or spoken to, if you ever talked, if you have ever spoken to a drunk person, they're so fucking annoying when you're sober, right? They just blabber on about shit and it's annoying, right? So, tip number three is to have a plan. Included in that plan should be, am I going to leave early? What time is that going to be? Is that going to be 3 drinks in? And what's going to be my story that I have to leave early? Again, you can come up with a lie, you can fabricate something, it can be the truth. Come up with a plan to get out of there. The other thing in the plan that I always recommend is come up with like a buddy that you let know what is happening, so that you can talk to them and talk about being sober, um, and they can help you to kind of get out of there early. The other thing that you can do is be the designated driver so that you can't have a drink. So there's lots of stuff that you can put into the plan The key things again to include is leaving early, around 3 drinks in for people. That's enough time to get around and socialize, talk to people, understand what they're up to, tell them a bit about yourself, all that kind of stuff, and then get out of there. Two is have a story about why you're getting out of there, why you got to leave so early. People accept that. They're 3, 4 drinks in, they don't care. They're going to be off and running. The third one is tell somebody that you trust about what you're doing and get them to help and support you if need be, to just say, hey, come on, it's getting a bit late in the afternoon or the night. Let's get out of here. Let's go. Let's leave. And that applies to, things like Christmas lunch and stuff like that as well. Usually, I don't know, everybody does it differently. I know some people are getting smashed in the morning and all that kind of stuff. So that makes it hard. But most people will have lunch and they'll start having drinks over lunch, and then the drinks will continue into the night. That's kind of my most common experience with Christmas lunches. You can leave early as well. You can have the lunch and then get out of there, do the presents and get out of there. So leaving early is key, but having a plan and going into the event knowing exactly what you're doing is really critical. So they're the top 3 things that I'd recommend for combating social events. And the things that come up in social events, because it's a question that we get and it's very important. Um, that you know you have these plans in place and that you understand what the challenges are going to be. So um I hope that helps. There's my little doggo in the background. She's a beautiful little thing. But um, stay safe over this sober weekend. But I wanted to get in and make this video early to get you thinking about it, because events start happening from November, really. And we want to, it's sober October now, but we want to plan for November and December and really make sure that, we've got some plans in place and things are happening. So hope that helps. We'll be vibing in your ears again tomorrow.